Okay, so let's break this down. What we're doing is basically the letter S with two curves, kind of creating a circle in the center. So I'm going to make a curve like a candy cane loop that lands in the center of the page, and then I'm going to make another loop on an opposite direction. So see how that's kind of like an S, like we have two different curves putting together. Now I'm going to echo this line all the way down here, and then I'm going to echo this line all the way following that curve. And sometimes it works better than others. You kind of get a feeling of what you like to do. And I think some of the magic is when you're drawing it, that you kind of build your skills and you change your theories as you go. So like one theory is I could leave a little bit of white space. They all land close but not on the line, creating kind of a visual tension. Or I could go all the way up to the line, creating a strong, confident retaining wall. But so now my space is a little out of space, so I can choose to just fill it up like that, or I can choose a different path. But we're going to go the other direction. And see, now I have to make a decision how I'm going to fill this space. And I can either choose to fold it like this, or I can choose to just maintain my equal spaces. I kind of like when things pinch in and fan out. I think a consistent structure of space tends to look tense. I think that when things change as you draw them, as the rules change, your eyes really enjoy trying to figure out the rules. So there you go. So this one has a little bit of a white space, an invisible line, and this one goes all the way up to the line. That's just, there's no hard rules. That's just how I chose to draw it this time. I think when you're working in one set space, you want to be consistent within that space. Or you want to be consistent in how you change your rules, either way. So those are my two lines this time. And I liked how it pinched in and fanned out, so this time I'm going to try doing that a little bit more and see how that goes. Let's see, this is going to create a nice, strong, dark spot because all my lines are ending in that one spot, so it creates a heavier space right in there. Now I'm going to go the other direction. This is my retaining wall that I'm hooking into. Now I'm keeping them spaced out. I'm not giving myself a lot of room to do that on this one. So that's the basic idea. You get that, right? So now the next thing we can do to enhance this is add shading. You could just fill in this empty space if you want, and that immediately makes it pop just a little bit more. You can shade right here, so that gives it a little bit of dimension. Now I'm shading very heavily, and I'm using a pencil. And then I'm gonna fan that out a little bit. It seemed a little too heavy. Let's see how that immediately makes it more dynamic. And then I can even add a little bit over here on this line to kind of tie it together, give it a little bit of volume, and there you go. So if I was doing a full page of this, the big thing again when you're doing shading is you kind of want to be consistent. You kind of want to come up with a game plan of what is on top and what is on bottom. The bottom is what gets shaded, the top is what shines. So in my storyline here, I would say that this half is on the bottom and this half is on the top, but then I shaded over here because if the sun is coming from this way, the sun is going to highlight this area, and this area is going to be dark, kind of like the earth, like when you're looking at a ball. You could technically say, oh, this should be a little shaded too, but I find that sometimes when you overshade, you lose the magic. So that's the pattern. Now I'm going to do a full page and you can kind of watch how it goes. And I will say that sometimes when I'm filling spaces, so you see all these little circly things, sometimes it just didn't fit right and I just went with however the echo felt right. Don't get stuck in your rules. Don't get so locked into it has to be exactly like this. This is a dance. It's just a journey. You don't necessarily have a very strong vision of how it's going to turn out. When the more loosely you dance with it, the more vibrant the end piece comes out to be. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy my doodle. I'm going to get to work. You've learned the basic strokes. Now we're going to actually build the page. I like working small. This is a notebook that's just 6 inches by 6 inches, and I love the square format. I just find that it just feels right to me. And this is a really cool notebook company that's in Kansas City, Missouri. They just make the coolest notebooks, and this is high quality paper. But so I've got a blank page, and I always put a piece of paper behind my page. Otherwise, when the page is slipping around, I end up making marks on the page below. So blank page, I start with a pencil and I draw some lines on the page as my starting points of reference, because if your first little scratches on the page just feel really tight and wrong, you can erase them. You don't have to just start with a whole new page. So I always start with a pencil and I give it a couple seconds to kind of ponder. I drew my lines. Now these are going to be my reference points of my spaces, and I tend to like making them a little bit thicker than my repeating lines. So I think I will use this calligraphy brush. There's a brush. Okay, so this is going to make just a nice big bold line, but what I don't like about it is, like, see, now I have an unpredictably not even line, but I like that it's nice and big. And I do go back and clean up my pencil lines, just make them go away. I don't love how this doubles over, so I'm gonna edit a little bit. I don't know if I love that either, but we'll work with it. No mistake is ever the end of the world. You just want to go with it. This is just a dance. It's just a moment in time. It's nothing serious. We're just having fun here. So don't cry over your marks. Don't let them lock you up to paralysis where you can't draw anything because everything's all wrong. Because I guarantee you, in drawing in 30 minutes, things go wrong. You make mistakes. It's not important. It's just a drawing. It's just for fun. It's just meant to free your brain and have a little space for a minute. And one of the things I like about drawing like this is I feel like it's like when you're in the car and you're talking to your friend and you're looking out the window, like your brain just kind of opens up. Like it just kind of like gives you a level of separation to where you can just let your brain wander wherever it goes, almost like a dream state. Because you're just watching the pen move and you're just going with it. You're just getting in the flow of it. I heard a term lately that I find really empowering, the slipstream. You're just getting in the slipstream. You're just going for a ride wherever it takes you. Something feels icky or wrong, you can either walk away from it and reevaluate it later, or you can just rebuild it in a different way. You can fill it in with black space. I feel like that's always safe. Just completely blank it out, because these big blank spaces just look so bold and brave. Or you can just let it lie and look at it in a day or two, because sometimes, I just recently went through all my old sketchbooks. I've discovered that I didn't put enough value in what I was doing. I felt like they were all, just little doodles that didn't mean anything. And when I looked back, I was just impressed with how much work I had done and how much I'd captured and how much of it looked really good. And I thought it was all like, oh, just a piece of junk. So don't undersell yourself. Don't get locked up and freeze because you feel like what you did didn't count. It does. It will. You'll believe in it later when you have a little bit of distance. So here's my lines. I did some quick doodles. I used a brush to thicken it up. And now I'm going to pick a thinner line. I'm probably going to pick a small, medium, large. And I'm going to start drawing this pattern all over the space. And then I'm going to fill in the circles in the middle. I'm going to highlight them. And we're just going to go from there. And then at the very end, if I'm feeling up for it, I may add a little color. Because sometimes I feel like I am seeing the layers of depth and others can't quite break it down in their head, and when you add the colors, they're like, oh, now I get it. So we've got this space. All of my spaces are weird. None of them are squares like we had practiced. Now I'm just gonna make it work. So I'm gonna look in an area and see where I can kind of visually go for it. I'm digging this space, so I'm gonna just draw a little candy cane like hook, and then I'm gonna draw another candy cane, and again, don't get locked up in, oh no, I don't like what I did. So we're gonna echo this line all the way down here. We're gonna echo that line all the way up here. And I think I'm gonna fan it. I'm gonna give it a tight pinch in the center and a little extra space on the outer edges. Again, with the paralysis, you can see that my hands have wiggled and strayed. I'm gonna draw 3 million lines. It's not serious. We're not going to cry over that wiggly line because there's 3 million lines. Your eye is not going to be obsessed with that one line. I can also make a story how this line didn't come out how I wanted it to. We're just going to keep moving. It's not serious. It's just fun. I'll be honest, I didn't mean to make that line collapse into the other, but we're going to go with it, and you're going to see it creates this beautiful rhythm. Even the flaws create a beautiful rhythm. Power in numbers. Okay, so there's one. And I'm just going to keep repeating. There's a lot of stories I can tell myself about those lines. I'm not going to feel bad about it. I'm just going to keep moving. I like how it's going. It's looking good. So one thing I like to do personally is I like to take a line and then echo it into a new space. I feel like that just kind of gives it this little rhythm. So I did a new candy cane, and I'm going to do a opposite hook somewhere. So those are my 2 lines. This line is going to keep going this way. This line is going to keep going that way. So we're going to echo it in. And then we're going to echo this one in. Oop, that's quite a thick space. So there's that one. Now, same thing. I'm going to take this line, I'm going to echo it over here. Whomp! Then I'm going to add another line because the goal is to make like a circle. We're going to go that way. So we get kind of a circle. See how these kind of play off each other? We're going to add another one right there. So I'm going to stop there for a second, see how I feel about how I want to continue in this space, because I can just keep fanning it all the way around, or I can choose to do something else. We're not going to lock ourselves into too many rules. It's okay to do something different. So I was going in the pinch to the center, and now I'm climbing up the wall a little bit. And I kind of dig this space. I think I'm gonna fill that in before I'm gonna fill this in. using my thick calligraphy pen. No reason why, I just dig that space there. In my head it's two separate spaces and I don't want to lose it. There. So now I have to decide how I'm going to fill this. I can either walk away from it, come back later, or I can think about it now. Because my gut is telling me go a different direction. Just switch it up. But I'm not sure. So I think I'm going to move on to another space and come back. Now I did not like how this turned out, so I can just blank it out like that in the end, or I'm going to leave it for now and see if I change my mind later. This is another tiny one I'm kind of digging. I'm gonna fill that in. Okay, so I've added a new surprise element. I created a space that seemed too big, and then I added a V, and then I was like, wait a minute, now my hooks don't add the way I thought they do. What do? I'm gonna go with the same feeling where I'm gonna hook into that wall so that it looks similar but new. And I don't really want to fan it all the way across so it's a circle, so I'm just going to go another direction. Oh, I guess I am just going to fan, just going from the opposite side. Then I'm going to fill in this V. Again, no reason, just gut feeling. Maybe I fill in this V too. The one that turned it all. Let's line that all the way in. Oh, that looks kind of nice. Kind of a twisty-turny. Now see, I dig that. This was getting a little boring. It was getting a little too much of the same thing all at once. So I'm gonna try and do this twisty-turny into this weird space. So we started with a V, right? A V, nope. And then I think I took my V and I brought it in. And then we started to go, ooh, maybe I could do another circle. That'll do. We can make that work. Maybe. Put it in like that. Doing this V in a tight space like that. So when you are doing these drawings, keep in mind you do not have to fill every single space. At some point you may feel like, boy, this is getting to be a lot. I don't know if I like doing more and more and more. And at that point, it's good to walk away for a little while and then reconsider, because there is some magic in leaving things open and not completing everything. Okay, so I don't love that, but I am going to fill in my circles because I wanted to shade like I showed you in our example. So we're going to fill in our circles, we're going to add a little bit of shading, and then we're going to keep building. I don't think I'm done. Now I'm going to add a little shading just to know where we're heading. Find it a lot easier with a pencil. It's totally possible with a pen, but you got to get creative. so you don't just blank out spaces. I'm picking one side out of the 2 swoops to shade, and then I'm starting out heavy right along that line, and then I'm fanning it out. I'm making it lighter, 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 lighter. And I'm making it darker towards the center where that big center circle is. And I'm just doing that over and over and over, and it created a little bit more depth. I tend to like to start shading light and then get darker and darker and darker. And I find that the heavy dark shading is really what makes a drawing sing. So don't be afraid. Just if you start a little too strong, it can be hard to back it up. So here we go. This is a half-filled page. I've been doing it for about 20 minutes, and I'm gonna keep going because my goal was the whole page today. So this one, I ended a little too short, and then I tried to fix it, and then it got a little wonky, and so I'm just gonna fill it in, make it go away. Just erase the evidence of why that line is thicker than all the others. And now you got a little surprise element of, oh, what made you think to do that? I don't know, made a mistake. All right, so now I've got this weird space that I can either fan out or I can go another direction. I kind of liked what we did over here, so I'm trying to think of how I'm gonna fold into a new way. My brain's been digging the V's. Oh, and I like how that kind of swirls into this. So I'm just gonna try and make some connections. So I'm trying to figure out how to make all of this piece, and this piece, and that piece all flow into this one. And I don't see a clear way. And one easy cheat would be to fill that solid, or fill it with a solid color, like make it solid red. Or we can bravely go where it doesn't make sense and just try to fit something in, which is what we're gonna do today. See, I like how this line just followed through. I try to put as many random connections in there as I can, because it just kind of makes it look more like a full piece. You know, we're working in panels and we're just making it up as we go, but when one panel connects to another, your brain likes it. Feels like we planned it. All right. We're moving right along. So again, I'm not overthinking my spaces. I'm not thinking about my spacing and my lining. Sometimes my hand draws what my mind did not intend, and I don't feel bad about it. I go with it. It's on the paper. We're moving forward because it is one line out of hundreds of lines. And you don't know if it's truly good or bad until the entire piece is done. This would be one of those where, as I said, to me it's a dance. Like you're just kind of swirling with it, you're feeling the moves, and then like, oh, that space felt a little completed, so I just danced a different direction. If these were my feet, they twirled this way, and now they're twirling that way. Same thing here. It just felt complete, so now I'm twirling a new way. I'm moving on. Oh, that's creating a weird little circle right there. Can I create a spiral? This is another, I'm breaking the rules, filling the space however it feels right to me, so it doesn't get too intense. Still don't know what to do with the center V. Doesn't that feel like the Bermuda Triangle right there? I like doing these things because they feel like they give you a palette of choices when you're doodling. So you're building your skill set. This is just a practice. But I also just find it enjoyable in its own, and it's fun to look at. It's fun to create, which goes back to don't be mean to yourself. It's not serious. I keep saying that because when I was a kid, when I was younger, in college, I would see friends that swear they can't draw, and they would just get so locked up by the very first line, by the very first mistake. And I feel like, oh, I just don't think about it that much. Like, yeah, I make thousands of mistakes. I mean, who's to say it's a mistake? It's just a line. This line felt like it needed to connect, so I just broke the rules, made a little swirl, made it happen. Tiny little space. What? Oh, we're done with everything but the center triangle. The Bermuda of it all. Oh, nuts. I'm a brave, bold little triangle in the middle. Right in the middle. I'm going to take my big fancy calligraphy brush. Fill in the circles. Doesn't have to be a set perfect circle. I'd prefer it not to be. All right. So now I'm gonna add my shading. Just picking a random side. Now, if I was gonna do this right, I would think about where's the sun coming from, which side is on top of the others, and all of them would kind of have the same sun point. I'm moving fast on this one. Because I'm talking to you, I'm not really putting a lot of thought into it. I'm just kind of intuitively moving. So it's your choice if you just want to add a little shout out to shading or if you want to actually have some thought to it. All right, so now I have my shading. I'm gonna go back in and see if I can add more intense dark areas. Because sometimes adding in solid blocks can really make it sing. Ooh, I like that right there. So that might be a nice place to add a V. Hopefully, just makes it more bold to get rid of that little line area. There we go. See, I feel like that made a big impact. Now this has got a lot of tension. A lot of lines are all meeting up in the same spot in kind of a dirty way. Don't go too aggressive. We don't panic. But we just slowly work at it because your solution may be different than what you thought in your head. Because as it's building, you may be like, you know what, that little curl's cute. I wish I could have that curl in more places. Like maybe right here. Maybe. You can tell that center spot scares me. I just pretend it doesn't exist. Don't even shade it in. It's not real. It's the Bermuda Triangle. There. You don't scare me. So there we go. I've done this for about 30 minutes, and that's my final piece. I'm feeling pretty good about it. I'll come back later and see if anything else talks to me as something I can add or take away. But it's looking pretty good to me. Thanks for watching. Now we're going to color it, and as I said, I'm going to go ahead and scan this and upload it onto my website, and you can pay a small fee to download it if you are one of those people that just loves coloring but doesn't love drawing. You just want to, your eyes are like, ooh, I could put my Crayola markers on that. So great. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see what you do. Coloring's not really my thing. The lines, the dance with the lines, that's what I like. I still don't like this one line. What can I do to him? I'm gonna go crazy. I'm just gonna fill in the circle. Just gonna make it like kapow. But now see, that opened a whole new avenue where I'm like, why is this one curved? Why is that one curved? Should we curve more corners? I don't know. We're about to find out. We're about to curve some corners. Because I just made a new rule. And I'm echoing it into my space in more than one spot to make it look intentional. All right, we're gonna have to take a break for now, but that's where I'm at. Thanks for watching.